الحمد لله الذي أنزل على عبده الكتاب واحلم يجعل له الوجه أحمده سبحانه وتعالى وأشكره وهو أهل حمد وثناء وأشهد أن لا إله إلا وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله ومصطفى اللهم صل وسلم على عبدك ورسولك محمد وأهله وصحبه وسلم. Alhamdulillah bil alameen, we thank Allah Almighty always, 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 because we never know what Allah Almighty is going to do with us. None of us had the power to stop ourselves from coming into this world, and no one has the power to keep themselves from leaving this world. So there is a power over our power. The sky that shines, that glows in the sky with the sun and the moon and the stars, no matter where you go, it is above everything on the earth, wherever you go, east to west, north to south. It is a sign that Allah Almighty's will is over everything. And so once we can reconcile that you know, I did not bring myself here, and I can't keep myself here when I'm here. We come to that realization. We realize that Allah Almighty increases and Allah Almighty decreases. Allah brings us from darkness to light, and Allah Almighty takes us from light to darkness. Allah may make us to die, or Allah Almighty may give us life. Allah may make us poor, Allah may make us rich. Allah may make us healthy, Allah may make us sick. Allah may make us consciously, mentally well, or Allah may allow us to be crazy. Everything in its own realm is from Allah Almighty. Allah may set us up to be in prison. Allah may set us up to be free. We may be in prison and be free. We may be free but be in prison. It's a paradox. Everything is a paradox. So the whole thing is that we have to learn to rely on Allah Almighty only to be able to fulfill our meaning. Every meaning has an appearance. The meaning of Adam was he was the appearance of that meaning. Moses was the appearance of the meaning of Moses. Every prophet that came, may Allah be pleased with them, 124,000 of them, they had a meaning, and so their meaning had to have an appearance. Anytime the meanings have an appearance, then we are responsible to adhere to the meaning. If the meaning never physically manifests itself, we're not responsible for what we don't know. Allah Almighty sent 124,000 of those who He sent with His words. Those words, that message that they gave to people were given to a people who didn't know their meaning. How can we know that meaning coming from through a woman not being able to talk, not being able to crawl or walk, not being able to think, only crying when we're wet or when we're hungry or something. Not knowing that Allah Almighty had us in mind of all the sperm cells that emitted from the loins of our Father. Trillions of them. Allah said, this one will hit the egg and this one will fulfill my meaning in life. No one comes here without a meaning, whether you recognize it or not. At a certain time does not mean that we should lose our hope, that we should start to be angry, depressed, confused, hate, have deviant behavior. It has no meaning. Our lives have no meaning. If we read a book that's full of wisdom, the Bible, the Old Testament, New Testament, and the Quran, and not know our own meaning, it becomes a foreign document to us. Something foreign to us. up and knowing, bam, I'm still here. Allah has allowed my lights to come back on. He sent me back into this life for a reason. What is my meaning? You only have to ask. Allah has ordered us to ask for our sustenance. Allah has ordered us to ask for our provisions, even to the point of your shoestrings. Oh, Allah, help me to find my shoestrings. Allah says what a relationship he had with all those 124,000 prophets that he sent. They always remembered Allah and asked Allah for everything that they were in need of. Allah gave them from the smallest to the high. So they were not in awe or shocked when they were able to part the sea, when they were able to bring thrones to them, when they were able to bring people back from the dead or to heal people. They were not in awe of that. That was their way of life. They were more acquainted with the unseen than they were with the seen. And what they did and why they were so diligent and so steadfast, because they knew that they only had a fixed time of being physically seen. And they wanted to represent their being in that short time. And they did all kinds of, they didn't have time to have an idle mind. They didn't have time to be backbiting on somebody. He said, she said, now I'm not going to speak to her. I'm not going to speak to him. I don't like what they said. I don't like what they think. They had no time for that. They were on their meaning. And that's why their energy permeated the souls of people that were in their presence and shocked them into motion. They just lived. They didn't have to say, I'm from God. I'm a Muslim. I'm righteous. I'm one of the best people evolved for mankind. Their souls stood at attention. The soul knows, but the mind can never comprehend. In 1,000,000,000,000 years, people said, well, you know, reincarnation, you got to keep coming back until you get it right. If you came back 1,000,000,000,000 times to your mentality, you would never get it right, because you can never comprehend what the soul already knows. We come here knowing, but Shaitan's role is to make us to lose sight of why we're here. You got to say, he on his job. Because he has divided us, he has sliced us and diced us and spiced us and miced us. We're so weak and so frightened of doing anything. We rely on things outside of ourselves, and we don't use that power that's in ourselves. That's a tragedy. Because you'll never know your power unless you struggle. You'll never know your power till you down and out and don't see no way out. Then all of a sudden, bam, you free. You know you didn't do it. You down and out, you don't have no wealth, you don't have a dime. Bills are coming on you. You don't have nothing. They're saying that the society is going down, that the economic situation is in intensive care. And no matter how much medicine you give it, it's not beginning to respond to the medication. That means somebody dying. Whenever there's an injustice anywhere, Allah allows it for a moment. Then he shuts it down. Because that ain't the meaning that Allah Almighty sent in the world. That's too many things that have gone off their meaning. Allah's meaning. Allah didn't send us here to establish the kingdom of Satan on earth. Why would somebody hire you on a job and have you on their job so you can destroy their money, mess up their job, their reputation? You'll get fired.